Welcome to Nugget 328 with Steve and Dana Groman. Today we will be talking about Discover Magazine, November-December 2022. You want to tell them how we're going to do something a little bit different today?
Well, we're going to go through some various articles here and understanding that a lot of people do not get science magazines, but they do read textbooks and newspapers and hear the news and go on family vacations. And it is still the same thing. We're trying to just point out the nature of the way our society is going, even in the science publications.
And I know we've said a number of times that we could do a nugget on every single article in one of these magazines. And so that's kind of the other part of what we want to show you today. I thought this one was funny. It's not an article, but it's an ad wanting to sell you a Generac generator. We're kind of familiar with Generac generators.
Well, we do know those.
They are really good generators.
They are good.
Get one bigger than you really need because it'll last. But it's just interesting. Protect your home from power outages. This is mainstream. Some of these things that we're going to talk about in this and the next nugget are things that wouldn't be in mainstream publications just a few years back, and I think this ad is one of those.
Oh, yeah. If you bring up some of this stuff, a few years back, people look at you crazy.
Right. They'd be handing you a hat.
Yeah, made out of tin foil.
Or aluminum.
Yeah.
Well, here is one. It's called In Days. How Will Life on Earth End? Should we go to Discover Magazine to find out how that is?
I think maybe the Book of Revelation would be better.
I think so.
They do know that we're in a mess, and this thing looks like it's winding down.
They just have a different version of that winding down process.
Right.
On this same page, there was an article. It's called Loss or Gain. A person wrote in referring to a previous article, and I like the fact that they questioned them, and once they questioned them, they had to sort of change their tune. And let me just read this real quickly. Your article about how global warming is causing sea levels to rise, endangering the low-lying island nation of Tuvalu, speculates that the people of Tuvalu will someday have to abandon their islands and perhaps maintain a sense of digital nationhood while living somewhere else. While sea level rise continues to threaten Tuvalu's existence, not all of its islands have been impacted equally. Over the past 4 decades, only one of the country's 101 islands have been entirely eroded, whereas 73 have seen a net increase in landmass. How did that happen? And are any of those 73 islands inhabitable? Boom!
Boom.
Well, and what they were saying was, as they explained to get their way out of it, yeah, that is what's happening, but what we're really talking about is that building infrastructure on the new islands would make it hard to inhabit them. No, you were trying to insinuate something else, and this person got you. So I think that was kind of fun. I think they probably just had to put that in there to show their honesty. The next one, hit me with your best shot. Glowing eerily under a blue light, the stained skeleton of a clouded archerfish reveals unique biological structures with a highly targeted purpose.
Sounds like he was intelligently made.
He was.
Absolutely.
What day were the fish created?
Day 5.
Intelligently, beautifully created with unique biological structures. Next, here we go. Airports are embracing facial recognition. This technology is far from new, but it's slowly becoming ubiquitous within air travel. Should we be worried? And they show this picture of a crowded airport and everybody waiting in line to go through the screening, and then how it's just so easy just to go through. Using facial recognition technology, the Smart Tunnel at Dubai International Airport allows travelers to breeze through passport control in 15 seconds.
They always present this stuff as though it's a good thing, and they can make it sound good, and it is kind of cool, but there's another side.
What are we giving up to do that?
That's exactly right.
Dubai is on my bucket list. I think I'm going to go through the long line.
Everybody on Earth will know you went there.
They probably will, because I'll tell everybody once I get there and be so happy. I've been wanting to go to Dubai for decades. That place has just grown and just become a popular place to go.
It seems like a good thing, but it is obviously an encroachment on us.
We had a friend the other day that she was saying that her daughter's car knows her and knows how to put all the settings, but then when she gets in, it says hello to her because she thinks she's her daughter. So the technology isn't perfect, but maybe she just
But it's coming along.
Maybe she has a cheaper car. I don't know, but it's just kind of crazy how all this has happened so quickly.
Real fast.
Or maybe it's been around and they're just letting us know. You're going to like this one. Lobster eyes help us see into space.
Good, because telescopes don't do it. So maybe a lobster underwater can do it. Oh well. read.
He's kind of funny looking, isn't he? Anyway,
Yeah.
with crustacean-inspired technology, we can analyze far-off phenomena like supernova collisions and solar wind that extend past our own galaxy. I think it's going to take more than a lobster eye, but
So the lobsters in Maine can see all the way across the pond?
they might.
Interesting.
One of the things it says here, and they talk about how they're going to copy the lobster's eyes to reach all these places that they probably really aren't
But it is
going.
interesting how something that's, quote, natural, of course we know God made it, but they do this all the time. They find something, some creatures, and mimic it because it's the best thing around.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what they say
They've
here.
done it over and over and over.
In this section right here, lobsters have developed specialized eyes to see in dark, murky habitats located up to 2,300 feet below the ocean surface. They haven't developed specialized eyes. God gave him those specialized eyes.
He knew where they were going to live, and he gave them the eyes they needed to use there.
Isn't that amazing, though? They can see around 2,300 feet below the ocean surface. Though they can't see images well, these crustaceans excel in sensing motion. Unlike humans, whose eyes consist of rounded lenses that refract light, lobsters' eyes depend on reflection. Each eye is packed with up to 10,000 square-shaped tubes, and each tube is lined with a flat, reflective surface that acts like a mirror to direct incoming light down to the retina.
Yeah, and that just accidentally evolved.
No, it didn't.
I don't think so.
But isn't that fascinating?
That's fascinating.
We just don't appreciate God's creation like we should, that's for sure.
Correct.
Next, musical mutations. Some researchers think that evolution drives transformations in both species and songs. We spoke of this before, how they talked about how music evolved, and they refer in this article to Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species, included a simple, if flawed, representation below right of how species evolve over time. Scholars wondered if culture evolved similarly.
That sounds like a bunch of hogwash, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. God created music. We know who
Music
was
and the stars.
The stars sing, and that's an incredible topic to go into. Music didn't evolve.
Absolutely not.
They have a huge article talking about targeting typhoons, and they go into a lot of weather information. And this is the one that you would definitely have had to pull out a hat to discuss previously. But they're talking about how cloud seeding works. That sounds
manipulating the weather?
Manipulating the weather. Isn't that interesting? And they talk about how it works and how they do it.
Yeah, all this kind of stuff, this was taboo not too long ago.
And this is one of the parts that they talk about, a brief history of weather modification. Really?
You know what's interesting? We've known about all this stuff, you and I have, for a long time. Couldn't talk about it back then.
But now it is in
now
Discover
it's all
Magazine
mainstream.
in December of 2022, so we're going to talk about it. Typhoon shot arrives in the wake of multiple attempts over the years by the U.S. military to commandeer the skies. It all began, listen to this, after World War II, when General Electric sought to understand why ice sometimes formed on U.S. aircraft and disabled them. And the article goes on and talking about all that the Navy and Air Force did working with GE on experiments.
A long time ago.
Yeah. The crew of Project Storm Fury stands in front of one of their Douglas DC-6 aircrafts in 1966. And it just goes on and talks about hurricanes and supercooled water and all the different aspects of controlling and modifying the weather. And we're going to stop here and we'll finish up this magazine in our next nugget. Thank you.